All right, let's go ahead and get started. This started off as a Mendenhall flooding update because we got with the River Forecast Center in Anchorage, got with those hydrologists, and we updated the forecast. So now instead of it cresting, between like 8 and noon tomorrow morning. Now we've scooted it back. So now it's looking like it's going to crest a little bit earlier on. So that's what we started off with this update. But now it has expanded into flooding updates for Ketchikan and also some high wind updates for those of you along the coast. So we're going to cover a lot of information. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment either in the comments below, and we'll try to get to those throughout the night and into tomorrow. So just starting with the Mendenhall flood update. This was the big story this morning. We issued the warning earlier on. The basin has been dropping, since late yesterday. And so the river started to rise. Now we're still looking at a rise. The exact point is 11.7, but the range of possibilities is still 11 feet to 12 feet. Still pretty confident on that, but the timing has been scooted back just a little bit into the 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. time frame. That's when we're looking at seeing when this flooding will crest and then begin to go back down. So the latest update is online, but there's a look at the hazard information there. We're just crossed over the 8 foot the level, and minor flood stage is 9 feet, and will continue to move up through the overnight. So there's a look at the flood impacts. Not needless, I got some extra text there, but yeah, still looking at the highest range will be 12 feet. The next level will be 9 feet, where water starts to cover Skaters Cabin Road between Skaters Cabin and West Glacier Trailhead. Also, water will flow into the Mendenhall Lake Campground and continue to move up from there. So more details can be found at weather.gov/Juneau. We have the Suicide Basin monitoring page that's been updated. I think we've been aiming for near hourly updates. But let's move on. The other story. This has been something that we have been. Whoops, wrong button. Sorry about that, folks. Let me see if I can get rid of this extra text there so we can see. There, that's a little better. So hazard information here. This was a flood warning for the Ketchikan area. It sounds like discussions with local emergency management and law enforcement in the Ketchikan area has led to increased forecaster confidence to update the areal flood advisory that was issued earlier on and update it to a warning for the Ketchikan area. Some of the rainfall totals that have been falling in the area upwards of upwards of 0.8 inches per hour. So very, very heavy rain happening in the Ketchikan area. And so an additional 2 to 4 inches are expected, and this is in effect until Tuesday at 1 a.m. Already seen some very impressive pictures out of Ketchikan. So thanks to those who have sent in those reports. It helps us to gather information of what's going on. And so some roadways are inundated with water and may not be passable. Area rivers, creek flows are elevated and will continue to rise. Storm drains and ditches sound like they were clogged with debris, and there is the isolated landslides are possible in areas of steep terrain. And the city of Ketchikan sent out a Facebook post last week, very helpful in helping to identify areas of concern related to landslides. And what you would look for is very muddy water flowing through an area. And so that's something that they've isolated there. It was very helpful. So check that out. And as mentioned, this is just for the Ketchikan area until 1 a.m. Tuesday for very heavy rainfall. In addition to that, we've got this high wind watch. And I wanted to show this to help you get an idea of what we're looking at for this high wind watch. We've got this storm force low that's looking to move up through the eastern Gulf. So we started this off Tuesday at 4 p.m. That's when the loop is. And you can't quite see the top banner there, but I'll walk you through it. As we fast forward, this is 8 p.m. There's the center of the low is expected to be just outside of our area, but in the eastern Gulf. And this low will track through the eastern Gulf to the north through Tuesday night into Wednesday. As it does, it's going to be bringing some storm force winds along the eastern Gulf. And some of those winds, some of those stronger winds, elevated winds, are going to be trying to snake their way into the inner channels. So for now, we're kind of eyeballing, 25 to 35 knots for the inner channels as this low tracks north. So let's pull this forward. There you can see it moves north, so they can kind of spin, just tracks north through the eastern Gulf. And as it does, those winds will wrap around and try to snake their way into the inner channels. We've tried to look at what the worst case scenario is, and then the least windiest scenario. The worst case would be the low tracks to the east, closer to the panhandle. If that happens, we're going to see a lot more widespread gales in the inner channels Tuesday night into Wednesday. If the low tracks a little bit farther out into the Gulf, we're going to see a lot lighter winds. Still elevated, still upwards of 20 to 25 knots. So we kind of cut the middle, kind of right there between those two scenarios. And so some north-south inner channels could still see wind gusts or wind speeds upwards of 35 knots. And then some of the more easterly, westerly ones, when the low is just lined up just right, where those winds can get pulled right out of the inner channels, that's when you could see those stronger winds. But this is Wednesday at 6 a.m. The low is starting to track westward. And as it does, it'll also weaken, and wind speeds will slowly fade out as well. And so that's for the marine areas. For the land areas, that's what we'll be seeing. Gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour are possible. Location span across the Southeast Alaska Islands and coast, right along the coast. There is where we're looking to see these stronger winds with gusts up to 60 miles per hour. If you are farther inland, say Gustavus, Juneau, all the way down into Petersburg, Wrangell, still will see some gustier winds, say 40 to 50 miles per hour, those higher wind gusts. But the confidence to go full 60 mile per hour just wasn't there to issue that high wind watch for these areas along the coast. And so that's what we have. A lot of information was just shared here. So the latest basin information can be found at weather.gov/Juneau. The wind information can be found at weather.gov/Juneau. You can go to the point and click on your area and see what hazards are happening in your neck of the woods. That is all that I have for now. Not seeing any comments. Hopefully, I did make some changes to our profile that might have allowed for comments to happen. If not, we'll keep adjusting. But feel free to comment on Facebook and Twitter. Email us, juneau.weather@noaa.gov. That's the email account that all the forecasters here have access to. So if you email us 24 hours a day, we'll be able to get back to you if you have any questions. So for now, I'm meteorologist Grant Smith with the National Weather Service here in Juneau, Alaska, signing off with a lot of information. Flood warning for Juneau, flood warning for Ketchikan, high wind watch for those of you along the coast. More at weather.gov/Juneau. Thank you.